if somebody is your family, they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going to a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
I'm doing the dirty work for you today, filtering through the Young Turks videos, trying to find a nugget to share with you guys. And in this one, Ana Kasparian is pissed at Sunny Hostin and Joy Reid for their takes in telling their viewers that they should not be spending the holidays with their families if their family members voted for Donald Trump. A continuation of Trump derangement syndrome as the leftist mainstream media woke pundits dig their heels in, ignoring the fact that Donald Trump won the popular vote, thus putting them on the wrong side of history. Let's check it out.
I'm all for healthy boundaries, but I tend to think mashed potatoes are the great equalizer. Like, you don't want to spend Thanksgiving by yourself because you can't set politics aside.
Whatever your reason is, I would never let my politics be the reason I don't show up to see my family because they won't always be there.
I'm going to disagree.
All right. Well, apparently the View host, Sunny Hostin, is all for Democratic voters essentially spending the holidays alone if it means not having to deal with family members who are big Trumpers, individuals who supported Trump for this election. Now, this is during a panel discussion yesterday, and the ladies of the View were discussing like how to handle some of these difficult situations in which you're confronted with different political opinions that you hate, that you're vehemently against. The topic came up after a Yale psychiatrist by the name of Amanda Calhoun suggested to Joy Reid that it might actually be a good idea to skip the holiday celebrations this season following the election. Let's watch.
There is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going to a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
All right, so I'm not surprised that that was something that was said on Joy Reid's show, but I am curious what you think, John. There are those who disagree. Plenty of people who do agree, though, but I'm curious where you fall on this debate.
So I guess she and I guess we are going to try to talk about this referencing some like abstract category of disagreeing with a family member, when in reality it super depends. Like it depends. Like, can a person just have a meal, watch planes, trains, and automobiles and not talk politics? If they can, then it's probably not an issue.
Right.
Some people can't do that. Some people.
Personally, in my experience, every Democrat person that I've been around can't help but try to blame Donald Trump or Republicans anytime the situation presents itself. And then whenever I go to defend Donald Trump and counter the lie that they believe, they go on and tell me, oh, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about politics. And it's like, then don't talk about politics, and I won't. I can restrain myself. Can you? Let me know what your experience is when dealing with these people.
People either can't do that. Some people don't want to do that. They love needling you and bringing it up. And I'm so happy, drops in. And there's people like that across the political spectrum. I don't think it's necessarily perfectly evenly distributed. I think some politicians have fan bases that are more like that. I think there are way more people that like Trump and want to talk about how they like him than like Mitt Romney supporters. I don't think you were getting hit over the head by Romneyites back in the day, or Joe Biden. I'm sure there's some Democrats too. But yeah, if it's not an issue, it's not an issue. I have, one family member I can think of that is the most conservative family member I have. and he's not an a-hole about it. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really even matter. But if you have a group that might come over and it's going to ruin the day, and the election was literally 3 weeks ago, then in that case, yeah, I think you might have to create some distance.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think it really does depend, right? Because if you're going to preemptively cut people off because you simply know that they voted differently from you and you vehemently disagree with who they cast their ballots for, but they haven't been jerks to you, you can typically have a good time with them and not get into a political debate. Like, I think it's wrong to cut those people off, especially if it's family, friends, people who have been close to you. There's gonna be political disagreements. The question is, how do those individuals treat you? And if they are treating you like a jerk, well then, okay, I can understand wanting to distance yourself. If they simply have political disagreements with you but treat you well, that's an entirely different story. And look, I totally get the thing about the egging you on and poking at you and trying to like rally you up. I've like learned how to deal with that, and eventually I'll start to troll back and have fun with it. So it started with, oh yeah, that's an interesting point you're making, and then I'll move on. Because look, there are cases where there's some family members that you might not be able to avoid, right? It might be your in-laws, right? Like you have to visit your in-laws and you love your spouse and you want to be there for them. So out of respect for your spouse, you might just have to stomach it, right? Like I have found myself in that situation. But you know what happened? It started off with, oh yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought of that. But like pivot away because I don't want to fight. And then I learned to have a little bit of fun. Like, why am I letting this get to me? It's not like this one person has the power to like destroy my life. This is just one person. They think differently from me. So if I can stomach it, like, sure, let's engage in a good faith conversation. But if they're trolling me, I'm gonna troll you back. Let's have a little bit of fun.
I think that'll work.
You know what? Anna just talked me into it. And thankfully for me, this Thanksgiving and Christmas, I won't be forced to face any of these, liberal family members. But just in case, it's time for it. Give me a second. Got dust on my shirt from feeding the chickens. I'm showing up like this next time I can. Screw these people, minus the headset, right? But it's time to start fighting these people over their bad ideas. You know what? Facts don't care about your feelings. These people are on the wrong side of history, and I'm over it, right? What about you? What do you think? Because, in my opinion, if you can't have these type of conversations with your family and your friends, who can you have them with? It's time to start correcting the record. It's time to start defending the lies of the mainstream media, and it's time to start making fun of these people. If they believe mainstream media lies, if they're stuck in the woke cult, you know what? That's on them. They've been on the attack for 8 years, trying to belittle us, calling, Trump supporters maggots and Nazis and deplorables and garbage. And I mean, you can probably name a dozen other things. What did I forget? Put it in the comments. But it's just time, right? I'm over it. And so, I don't know, let's continue with a little bit here and then I'll close.
And look, Sunny Hostin, she's having a tough go at things and she's in the complete opposite camp. So let's hear what she has to say.
Whatever your reason is, I would never let my politics be the reason I don't show up to see my family, because they won't always be there.
I'm going to disagree. I completely understand her point, because I really do feel that this candidate, President-elect Trump, is just a different type of candidate. From the things he's said and the things he's done and the things he will do, it's more of a moral issue for me. And I think it's more of a moral issue for other people. We're just, I would say it was different when, let's say, Bush got elected. You may not have agreed with his policies, but you didn't feel like he was a deeply flawed person, deeply flawed by character, deeply flawed in morality.
Like a lot of Dems called him deeply flawed and humanized him.
But you got to admit, they're very different figures. I think when people feel that someone voted not only against their families, but against them and against people that they loved, I think it's okay to take a beat.
Okay, I think she was fine in what she's saying there. Taking a beat is definitely fine. Sometimes you need a break. That's totally okay. Look, I think, John, you and I have the right take. Okay, the right take is.
I generally think that.
Right? Yeah.
Actually, yeah. That's why I take it that way, because it's right. To the last point, like, I understand when she says, well, Donald Trump is inherently flawed, and she didn't even go into like the multiple felonies committed and the dozens of sexual harassment and assaults and all that stuff. She just said he's inherently flawed and it's different. And I understand that people on the other side will be like, well, so is Harris, so is Biden. No, I understand. You will say that. You're wrong. You're just wrong. They are not as inherently flawed. You can criticize them, and you should, because no politician is an angel. It's just not the same thing, and everybody has their bias. Some people can see beyond it. Like, there has not been a Democratic politician.
That's enough of you, because you are wrong. And you know what's funny is Judge Marchand in the New York case where Trump has all the felonies is about to drop the case, right? He understands that there's probably going to be an investigation coming their way from Matt Gaetz being the new district attorney. Almost forgot his title. And he knows better. Judge Marchand knows better. He recognizes that the case he allowed in his courtroom was nothing more than kangaroo court presented by people trying to stop Trump from being on the ballot. They failed. Donald Trump won. And now it's time for them to face the repercussions legally, right? And so that's why it's time for us to stop sugarcoating whenever these people, you know, they've called us everything. They've gone after our president. And look at us now. Look at him now. Trump walked into Madison Square Garden with Vivek and Elon and RFK. Even Mike Johnson was there. I believe Tulsi was there. Walked in like a bunch of bosses and received the loudest applause that I've ever heard. Joe Rogan even commented on how loud it was. And so, you know what? The popular vote went for Donald Trump. Let's put it in their face. I'm sorry, but wear your Trump hat. Wear your American flag. Wave your American flag. And stop sugarcoating it to these people, because they want to present it to us like Donald Trump is this bad guy and their Democratic candidates are these perfect people, when we know the opposite is true. And so let them have it. Show up and make them leave Thanksgiving if they don't want to be around you. Be yourself and stop worrying about it. We're winning. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video. And as always, I'd like to remind you that I go live every Wednesday and Saturday at 6 p.m. The show is called the Jar Openers Podcast, but it's on this channel. I'd love to see you there. If not, make sure you stop into the next video. You won't want to miss it.